Welcome back, everyone. Start to a new week. We're here today on our Motivation and Mindset Monday, where I'm going to go over most likely a new topic for a lot of people out there. I know it was myself when I started to do a lot more research into at least what I found to be a very interesting concept called the bounce back statistic. Now, this is something that they typically use in sports, but I'm using it in everyday life. So I like to take a lot of the lessons that we learn from sports or other facets of life and to say, how can we apply this to our own personal life to become that much better? So, and the reason why this is so important is you can set goals for yourself in any area of your life. And it could be with family and relationships, especially over this past year. It's like, okay, how do I deepen my relationships with those people that I love and that I care for? And I think that's, we've really been taught a lot over this past year about that, but maybe it's now in career, or it's in finance, or it's in your own education, or maybe it's transitioning to something that you actually love doing because you found over the past year that you really don't like the spot that you're at in terms of your career and what you're doing for the vast majority of your life. I mean, if you're spending 8 hours, 10 hours a day working and commuting at a particular job. And I know a lot of people that commute was cut down, but still you're doing that job and that's a good half of your day. So if you're spending 50% of all your waking hours at this particular line of work, do you love it? You know, it's a big question that a lot of people have had to ask themselves and really answer for themselves. So then we have our body. We're going to be talking a lot more about the leading causes of mortality, of death, not just from this pandemic, but what about for overall life? And I can show you that 5 to 10 years minimum is what we cut our lives short by every single day in terms of not taking proper care of our body and our health. So again, I don't know what your particular goal is, but it's just as valid as anybody else's. The problem is that along the way, you're going to come into obstacles. There are going to be challenges in your life, and they may have nothing to do with you achieving your goal. Like, for example, there might be a hardship with family. There might be a hardship with your health. There might be a hardship in your career. You might get let go of your job, whatever it might be. And those are all challenges we may not have been expecting. A lot of the biggest challenges we never expect necessarily at that moment, at least in time. So the problem is, though, what do you do when you encounter these hardships? Not in that exact moment, but what do you do in the days and weeks following it? And that's what I want to talk about with you here today. So I'm going to talk about what is the bounce back statistic, and then let's apply it to our everyday life. So the bounce back statistic in golf measures the percentage of holes on which a golfer is over par on one hole and under par on the next. So what does that even mean? Like, because a lot of people don't watch golf. I would say the vast majority of people do not watch golf on TV. I actually enjoy watching a little bit of golf. I enjoy watching the majors like the US Open and the British Open and the Masters and all those tournaments. But, you know, again, I understand it's actually baseball's becoming a lot of that. I'll talk about baseball in a moment. It's like it can be tough to watch. But here's the thing. So it's very interesting. Golf is very much a mindset-based game. A lot of the top 100 players in the world have pretty solid skill set, right? It's a pretty solid skill set. But some players have a much stronger mindset. When we look at Tiger Woods back in the day, virtually impossible to beat going into a Sunday, which is the last day in a golf tournament typically. When he put on his red shirt, right? Tiger's red shirt, and he was within a few strokes of the lead, or he had the lead. I mean, nearly impossible to beat because he had the mindset of a champion. He wasn't nervous that I'm going to lose this. He was thinking, I'm going to win this. There's a huge difference in that mindset. I don't want to lose versus I want to win. Those people that want to win, and that's what they're focused on, have a much better chance of winning, believe it or not. Those people in the same exact lead and they're saying, I'm going to play not to lose. Well, in football and many other sports, they play that prevent defense. They end up losing, right? Because they're not going after it. They're not being aggressive going after the other team's quarterback or with their offense, whatever it might be. They're playing not to lose. You can't play not to lose. You have to play to win in life. That's such a big key takeaway, but let's save that for a separate show. But in golf, you know, when one of the top people that isn't in the right mindset, that's why a lot of them have sports psychologists, that hypnotherapists, you name it. So listen to this way. If a top golfer really like shoots double bogey or 2 over par. Well, what do? Do they just say, well, that's it, I'm lost, I just gave away 2 strokes to my next competitor? Or do they get right back and say, I'm going to birdie, which is 1 under par, that next hole? So that is the bounce back statistic for golf. Now in football, I'm a huge New England Patriots fan. I'm from Boston, so it's okay. I'm allowed to root for them, right? I've been in Boston, lived in Boston my entire life. Well, we'll just put it this way. My entire life I've been in Boston. And I was there for them when they weren't very good. And then, of course, I got to enjoy it when they were very good for 20 years with Tom Brady. And we'll see what happens, in this upcoming year or so. But here's the thing. The New England Patriots had the best bounce back statistic in all of football pretty much ever when they lost a football game. So they had over an 80% winning percentage. But when they lost a game, it was so highly unlikely that they lost the next game that you could make a really good bet on that team, on the Patriots, that they wouldn't lose the next game. So they had a very strong, the strongest bounce back statistic from about 2001 to 2020 with Tom Brady. Different when we had a different team out there last year. But again, it's a different team. It's a different era, essentially, with the New England Patriots. It's no longer Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But when the two of them were together, regardless of all the other players on the field, they had the best bounce back statistic. If they lost a game, they won the next one virtually every single time. That is a strong bounce back statistic. I'm going to give you one more. In baseball, they have a lot of bounce back statistics for the pitcher. So a pitcher in baseball is, it's like the quarterback in football. You just have to have great pitching. If not, it's very difficult to win. So in baseball, they look at it as, okay, if this pitcher walks a batter, which means they let them on base, not on purpose, usually, on 4 balls. So they let them on base. They weren't able to strike them out. They weren't able to get them to ground out, fly out, etc. What happens at that next at-bat for the next batter? Do they allow that person on base? Do they strike them out? What happens when a pitcher lets up a home run? What happens when a pitcher lets up a hit? So the organization, the coaches, have statistics on their pitches to know when that pitcher is starting to slide. So if it's the 7th inning and their starting pitcher's in there and they just let up 2 walks, well, they have stats that show if this pitcher lets up 2 walks, it's in all likelihood they're going to walk someone again in the next 3 batters, or they're going to give up a single. So it shows that pitcher just doesn't have it that night, right? So really important that they have all these stats. Some pitchers, okay, they let up a walk, they get angry with themselves, right? They're not playing not to lose, they're playing to win. So they get angry with themselves and they channel that aggression actually for good. They say, okay, I'm getting out the rest of the side, as they say. I'm getting out the rest of the batters. So after they let up a walk, well, their bounce back statistic shows that they get out the next 2 batters. So to me, I mean, I love statistics. I love data. I love all of these different types of things with research. So for me, it's very fascinating. But of course, you and I are most likely not professional athletes, nor have we ever been. But we can also look at our life in the same way. And that's why I ask you, and I think you know where I'm going with this now, what is your bounce back statistic? You can look at your overall life average, but what I like to do is I like to break it down in certain areas, because I've worked with elite CEOs of companies. I've worked with multiple billionaires. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of millionaires. I've worked with, what you would say in the business world are very financially successful people. I've worked with athletes who are successful in their professional sport. I've worked with professionals at all different levels. And I can tell you this, that okay, let's say that person's financially successful. I'll tell you that their nutrition and their health, not always on point. I'll tell you, work with these athletes or these celebrities, and they're great in terms of their confidence and star power, but not so great in terms of family and relationships. So again, I can show you all different things, which is why you can kind of look at your overall life bounce back score, but I like to break it down a little bit more. So for example, if your goal is to eat healthy, whether it's for wellness, for weight loss, for anti-aging, I asked you, what happens when you have a cheat meal or a flex meal and it was unexpected? Now, for me, I expect to have one Friday night or Saturday night. I love being able to, now that the pandemic is lifting, is being able to take out my girls, as I say, my family. I love being able to go out to dinner with them. It's just a time to unwind. It's a time to relax, and we just get out, and I love being able to spend time with that. That's something that I always wanted to do, enjoy doing. I don't think that we went out a ton to dinner, when I was younger, although, again, I'm not saying I had a great childhood, all those different things, but it's something that I always wanted to do, is be able to go out, be able to take my family out. It's just because I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So what I wanted to share with you is that I plan those ones, but what happens if you have a cheat meal unexpectedly? Let's say someone brings something into the office. If you have that, do you just say, okay, well, this day is a bust, so now I'm going to have a cheat meal that night. I might have a couple drinks, whatever it might be. Or let's say you have an unexpected cheat meal on Friday night, and you're expecting to have one on Saturday night. So you have it Friday night, and then you just let go the whole weekend, right? And what does that do to your goals? So I ask you, when you have an unexpected cheat, even during like our functional medicine detox, people ask all the time, well, I had a cheat. I know I wasn't supposed to have a drink or whatever it might be, but, is this whole thing a bust? Well, no, it's not. It's not ideal. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it and say, oh, you're going to get the same results. Well, because you're not. Like, life is not like that, right? We have to be realistic in life, but that's okay. That's okay. You got to get back on track. That's the bounce back. So if you have an unexpected cheat meal, hey, you know what? Don't stress over it. Honestly, it happened. Learn from it. What could you potentially do to not put yourself in that situation next time? Or just enjoy it and get back on track, right? That's that bounce back stat. Same thing with the workout. So I told myself starting, it was during the winter time, leading into the winter for sure. And I remember specifically right now, it was right after New Year's. And I said, I'm getting into a 4-day, no matter what program. And I wrote it down on I've got these huge Post-it notes in my office, and they're like literally 18 inches by 24 inches. And they're full sheets of paper that you put on the wall and stick straight to the wall. So I drew out my entire workout. I've got all my weights in my office. I've got my Rogue bike. I've got my adjustable dumbbells that I bought like at premium during the pandemic. I've got my kettlebells. I have everything that I need. Doorway pull-up bar. And so one day, unexpectedly, not on purpose, I missed my Tuesday workout. So not very happy about that. I've got a Monday, Tuesday workout scheduled. Wednesday is off because I have all day recordings and out of office meetings, all those different things, then Thursday, Friday. So, and it was only like 2-3 weeks into my program. And from a mindset, I couldn't miss it. It was too much for me to already say, well, okay, I'm 3 weeks in. I already missed one of my 4 days. And that means I'm doing less days than not for my workout. So I don't advise this, but I just want to show you that every once in a while to ingrain it into your brain that you are not going to slide, that you're going to bounce back stronger. I did my Tuesday workout and my Thursday workout on Thursday. Now, that's double the workout. It's not a good idea to do that regularly. And I'm not sharing that to say that I'm anything special or that I think that that's a good idea to do 2 workouts in one day. I typically don't. But for my mindset, I needed to do it to teach myself and tell myself that this is an important goal to me. And I'm not going to skip workouts. I'm not going to give up on it. And yes, life sometimes gets in the way. So here's what I did and here's what I'm going to do. And then that night, I try to get a little extra rest, of course, eat well that day, and say, listen, I don't want to do 2 workouts ever again in the same day. That's not an ideal goal of mine. I'm here for the longevity of it. So now my mind knows you better get in that workout, because if you don't, you're going to be doing doubles the next time. So again, that's not for everybody. You could simply just get back on track that next day. But I wanted to do that from more of a mindset-based perspective. And then you get a little insight into how my mind works sometimes. So a couple other ones away from body transformation, health, and workouts and diet and all that good stuff. But what about an argument with your partner, right? Or your spouse? How long do you let that last for? Do you sometimes need to be the person who simply rises above and say, I'm not going to allow this to continue? Listen, I know we both said things we didn't mean. I know that I said things that I didn't necessarily want to imply. I apologize, and move on. How quickly are you able to do that? Right? That's really important for both of you, for your relationship. And so that's another stat I think that's great to look at. And then what about just stress in general? You've got stress at work, you've got stress about this. How long do you allow that to fester? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it months? Is it ongoing? Because all of these things really just begin to break you down as a human in terms of your physiology, your body, and also your brain. So my goal for you is this. It's not to be perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. I really don't know anybody that is. And we all have weak points in those certain areas of our life. So I simply ask you to look at your bounce back statistic. And you might find that it's fantastic with your relationships and your career and stress in general, and maybe even your exercise. But you have an issue around eating and nutrition and cheat meals. Okay, then that's just one area that we're going to hone in and really work on. We're going to schedule those flex meals. We're going to stick to it. And we're going to have our big why as to why we are doing that you can continue to go back to. So I'll tell you right now, everybody is going to encounter challenges, right? The golfer is going to miss a shot. The Patriots are going to lose a game. There's no doubt about it. Now that Tom Brady's not there, they might lose a couple games in a row, and it's going to happen. And of course, pitchers are going to allow a walk during their career. So it's going to happen to all of us, whether you're a professional athlete or you're a regular everyday person like you and I. So what you want to think about is this. You want to think about not that it's not going to happen, but how do you respond? Remember, we can't control every event in our life, but we are able to control our response. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Mindset and Motivation. Appreciate you as always. And of course, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anybody else you believe it could serve.